100 on the Dow, which is nothing. You can't complain about this on the S&P. We're at 4150 basically. We're close. We're in between 12 and 13,000 on the Nasdaq. So, we're in pretty good shape at the moment. Nothing to complain about. The dollar's at 104, so this is a good pressure test because certainly exerting some downward pressure on the indexes. But what the hell? It's from last week. And we had that weird thing last week. Oh, that looks fine. So we got our retail sales today. They're up 3%, which is good, except that, as we noted, a lot of that 3% is gasoline, and also the fact that people got their Social Security increases starting in January, and that 70 million people got a couple of $100 more. So that is 70 million, 700 billion, 7 billion, 14 billion more dollars. And that would be 140 something billion more dollars a year in spending. And total consumer spending is $6 billion. So that's about 2%, a 2% bump in consumer spending. So there's going to be a new normal now for spending. It's going to be 2% higher than it used to be because we're giving out 2% more Social Security money to keep up with inflation, obviously, but and obviously 2% is extremely inadequate to keep up with inflation, but that's where we're at. So, but we were expected to be up 2%. We're up 3% now. To some extent, you say, oh dear, if we're up 3%, then the Fed's going to be wanting to tighten more. That's why the dollar is popping up, right? So the dollar goes up because 3% more retail spending is a little bit hot for the Fed's liking. That's the personal consumption expenditures. Also, we're rebounding off, a very poor Christmas. So we'll see what happens. And I was talking about, how again, it goes back to the EIA. We're exporting so much oil, petroleum products, that we're spiking the price of what we consume at home. Here's the dollar still going up. Here and here's your inflation adjusted retail sales. Are not very exciting, okay, because we're up here for the year, but if you adjust for the 6% inflation, we're down here. We're actually lower, so less stuff is being sold for more money. People are buying less things but paying more money for them, and that's where your gain in retail sales is coming from. That's not positive for the society, for the economy. Companies are doing the same thing. They're getting less stuff, so they get less computers, less desks, less employees, right, for the same money. And that means they have to charge you more money for the same stuff that they were making before. And if there's not a gain in efficiency and productivity, then it's a losing game. So basically, this is still inflation. We're still in this cycle. It's not leveling off and righting itself. It just shows up in different ways. But that doesn't mean that it's not still happening. So there are various effects, and you have to look at the overall health of the economy. The overall health of the economy is not helped. In other words, if I'm an ice cream shop, right, and I usually give you 10 ice cream cones and 10 scoops of ice cream for $10, $4 each, right? But my costs go up, and now I can only afford to give you 9 ice creams, cones, and 9 scoops of ice cream, but for the same $10. But you wanted 10, like you had last time. So either you are going to accept less and pay more for less, or you are going to have to pay more. You'll have to pay $1.10 now to get 10 cones. So one way or another, something's going to change. And I'm the store, I'm not being evil, I'm just trying to break even on my cost of goods sold, right? I'm just trying to get the same money I got last time. I have to get $10. Otherwise, I can't make my expenses. I can't give you 10 cones and 10 scoops for $10. Doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter that you don't want to pay it. I can't afford to keep my doors open and serve you. So I'm choosing to either go out of business or raise my prices. You're choosing to either pay my prices or go somewhere else. That then causes other problems, right? Now I have less customers, and the new customers don't want to buy 9 cones for $10. They want 10 cones for $10. And that's where you get dislocations, you get shoppers switching stores, you get the stores have to advertise to bring the shoppers back, and that costs money. It's a big cycle. It's none of this stuff gets resolved overnight, and certainly none of it gets resolved just because the Fed does something. It's a very complicated thing. So now let's get back to that. So now you say, well, damn it, I want 10 cones, so here's $1.10. Now you're going to go to your boss and say, hey, I need a raise. It costs me $1.10 to get 10 ice cream cones now. I can't get 10 cones anymore. I have a family. I have 10 kids. I need 10 cones. So I have to now change my circumstances as a consumer, and my circumstances are going to change by I'm going to demand more money. And if I'm a rich consumer, I'm going to demand more interest on my money in order for me to be able to buy my 10 ice cream cones. But think about the time that's involved in this process, because it's not a simple transaction. It's when you you wake up, you pay your electric bill, you go out the door, you no longer you're the doorman. If you live in a building, your doorman, you can't give him 20 bucks anymore. That's it's not enough money. At some point, it used to be you give a guy a $20 bill for a tip or for Christmas, or maybe a $100 bill for Christmas. Now you give someone a $100 bill, and you gave him a $100 bill 5 years ago. Because for Christmas I would give somebody a $100 bill, like for the people in the building, and you give someone a $100 bill, and you figure, oh, I'm such a good guy, I gave him a $100 bill, but I gave him a $100 bill 5 years ago. Now I know I'm ripping him off. But what do I do? Do I give him $120? That seems weird, right? So all these things matter. Everything's connected. And then I go out the door, and it costs me more money for gas. And I go to the place that I'm going to, and now I got to buy. And now I go to a restaurant, and it costs me more money for food. So do I no longer go to this restaurant? And I tell you, there's certainly some restaurants I stopped going to because they got ridiculous. But then I go to the store. Oh, interesting conversation yesterday. I had dinner with a bunch of people, and the conversation was, because somebody said, I don't eat at home anymore. It's too expensive. That's what started it. And we all started comparing like the stories and whatever. And it was an interesting concept. It seems that the price of groceries has gotten to the point, and don't forget, these are for people who generally eat nicely, not people, people who go to Whole Foods and go to, and have decent meals pretty much all the time, not people who are going to switch to mac and cheese like my daughter. My daughter just eats mac and cheese a lot. That's how she saves money. That's how I save money in college too, so God bless her. I mean, that's normal. But the people I was talking to are, we live in Delray Beach. There's 200 restaurants around town. There's 200 restaurants, and there's two grocery stores. So do the math, right? The grocery stores are not cheap. And the one guy said, that was his comment, was he said, I don't eat home anymore because it's cheaper to eat out. Now, we didn't agree with that at first, but then we actually started talking about what it does cost to get groceries and how many times we could eat out versus, buy groceries for the week, and even if you buy groceries for the week, you're only going to eat 3 meals at home tops, but that's still, you end up spending, for 2 people, you end up spending like $200 for groceries for the week. And of course, some of it you're going to have anyway, like milk and eggs and whatever, but some of it is your dinner stuff. And your dinners, though, even for 2 people, you're lucky if you don't spend $30 for each dinner. So can you eat out for $30? Yeah, you can eat out for $30. I mean, really, you end up eating out for $50. It's not $30 by the time you do taxes, tips, and whatever. But, you know, if I want to go out for a pizza or something like that, or I want to go over to the Greek place and have a salad and whatever, you know, I honestly, yeah, there's really no point to going to the grocery store. I may as well just go next door and get a salad for 15 bucks if I'm going to have dinner at home. It's weird. So habits change, the consumption behavior changes, and it's a very long, slow process. And like I've been saying, it's driven at the bottom by wages, and wages are too far behind still. You can't just declare it fixed. Wages are so far behind that it's going to take years before we actually stabilize things. And if it's going to take years to stabilize things, then there's going to be inflation for a long time, no matter what the Fed does. Because those people get paid, the people who are paying the employees want more money, they're going to continue to push the price up, and it won't end until we have a bit of stability. Because it's not being planned, there's no central planning to raising wages and so on and so forth. And every day I go to the paper, there's a union fight here, there's a decision here, people are on strike. You know, it's not over, and it won't be over for a very, very long time, because there's a lot of people who can barely afford to live. So let's see if there's any questions. No questions. EIA, maybe now? Nope. What the hell, guys? If I do that, I don't see how it's data for the week ending February 10th, release date February 15th. Hit it again. February 3rd. So frustrating. We can usually count on that. Holiday schedule. Nope. The weekly patrolling. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Freaking Monday's a holiday. Wow. Ooh, has it been updated? I wonder if they update this thing. No, they wouldn't update it. It's a picture from Seeking Alpha. Stock market holidays. Not like we get a lot of them. So Washington's birthday, February 20th, next Monday. And then we get Good Friday, no holidays in March. Guess my birthday. Oh, there it is, March 29th. Next year, my birthday will be an official holiday. I like that. So, oh, look at that. Oh, that's May 29th. Oh. All right, so March 29th is officially my holiday. My birthday is officially a holiday in 2024. That I like. So where are we? So basically February 20th, then we get off again April 7th, then May 29th, then February, April, May, June for Juneteenth. We like that new holiday. And then we get July 4th, getting spoiled, but then we skip all the way to September, nothing in October, November, and December. So how many holidays? 10? 4? 10, yeah. That's not so bad. That Juneteenth is a lifesaver. Holy cow, we really need that one. But this is the most important holiday of all. There shall be much celebrating. All right. Anyway, so where were we? So yes, February 20th. That's the one we're talking about. So next Monday is a holiday, and that'll screw everything up. But it's already screwed up because where the hell is my report? All right. So anywho, 104 on the dot, coming back down off of 104. Give the markets a chance to flex their muscles and so on and so forth. So we talked about that. Oh, we talked about some really important stuff today too. All right. So I was asked about Devon Energy, and we talked about them. The thing I don't like about Devon Energy, I didn't do the top trade. I was going to do top trade. Oh, mad at myself. All right, anyway, because I like the second part of the Devon spread. It's all right, well, let's talk about it. What I like about Devon Energy is, where are they? About 50% of their revenues come from natural gas. That's obviously a negative, but on the other hand, you say, well, that's kind of baked in already. And hopefully, and we do expect this on many fronts, hopefully this will be some kind of a bottom for natural gas. So even on a 20-year chart, we're getting pretty much to the point where it's a low for natural gas. But you have to consider that over these last few years, the cost of everything has gone up. See, again, when you are, the reason I try to hammer these points home is because you've got to understand it affects everything. So in other words, while it may have been possible in 2016 and 2020 to sell natural gas for $2, even though it says 168, but it may, because you don't stop selling it. That's the thing. You don't shut down a well because it dips below $2. But on a sustained basis, $2 is pretty much not profitable for natural gas. That's been true for decades. In fact, you can see it's been true for 2 full decades. Going below $2 is the end of a drop in natural gas. So at 250, we can reasonably assume we're near the bottom. Now you got to take into account that there has been since 2016 15% inflation. So that means that $2 is no longer the bottom. And this is why chart people, this is why, this is the problem with TA traders, right? Because TA traders don't take this stuff into account. We have to be smarter than TA traders. So if $2 was the bottom in 2020, unless there's been some incredible breakthroughs in fracking technology and natural gas extraction and so on and so forth, it's not likely that these wells are going to be cheaper now to operate and cheaper to drill and cheaper to set up than they were in 2020. They should be 15% more. Labor costs, material costs, so on and so forth. Probably quite a bit more than 15%. But let's just say 15%. It also affects the land costs. You got to lease the land to do the fracking on, right? So we discussed this. I don't know if I talked about it with you guys in the webinar, but I'm working on a project with these guys, and we're setting up a natural gas well, and it cost $8.5 million to drill the well, to build the whole thing. We lease the land. I'm sorry, it's all included. Leasing the land, and you need quite a lot of land because it has to go in several directions around the well site. I think it's like 40 acres of land to do 2 wells. So we have 40 acres of land in Pennsylvania. We've got wells. There's 4 projects that are going on at the same time. And it's $8.5 million per well is what it works out to. The natural gas well, when you drill it, you get 50% of what you can extract from the well in the first year. In the second year, you get half of what's left, and it kind of goes down like that until you're down to about 10%, and then basically for 20 years, you're going to pull 10%. But 50% of the natural gas is going to get pulled out in the first year, and the other 25% in the next year, and after that, it's going to 2% per year basically is going to come out for the next 10 years or so. And then you're done, and then you're done. And you're really done in 20 years. It actually takes 20 years to pull everything out. And that's how you're going to recoup over the course of the first 3 to 4 years. You're going to get your money back. You're going to get your 8.5 million back. Then the rest is profits. But the profits will be over the entire 20 years. You're going to basically maybe triple your money if all goes well. And it obviously very much depends on the price of gas. So that's a $3.50 to $4 range. At $2.50, you're going to get your money back in 5 years, and then maybe you'll double your money over time. So big difference. Because think about it, if you're doubling your money in 20 years, you may as well just put it in the bank. Why are you messing around drilling wells? What's the point? You know, if your money is completely trapped, you spent the equipment, you put the well up, you can't take that money out. The only way you're going to take it out is bit by bit from the natural gas extraction. So this is why when we say there's a lower limit to something, that's why. It's a mathematical fact. It's not a guess. We're not guessing. This isn't TA. This is fundamental analysis. There is a price at which a well functions. And again, because in natural gas, and that's why you never see it stay down for long, because with natural gas, because of the depletion issue, where half the well is depleted in the first year, it has a very quick impact on the market. Because if nobody's, because if all the wells operating started today, right, and the price went down to 250 and nobody drilled a well for the rest of 2023 because it wasn't worth it, they weren't going to, because I'd rather get 5% per year on my money in the bank so I can actually use my money when I want to, rather than put it into a well and hope to make the same return. That doesn't make any sense, right? So by the time, so in 20 years at 5%, I'm going to get much compounded. I'm going to do much better than I would with a well. Now, we don't expect prices to stay at 250, but the point is, this is a not profitable thing. It's very, very difficult to get investors at this price, even if you try to tell them this. But here's the thing. So now, imagine every single well was brand new in 2023. Even if that were the case, that's got X amount of production of natural gas, right, is coming out. But if nobody drills a new well for 1 year from today, then every single well will have depleted by 50%. Now you've only got half as much natural gas as you did last year. It will take you at least 6 months to set up a new well. So as prices start climbing, there's a lag time of setting up new wells. And that's why we're doing this now, because we're buying equipment cheaper than it was before, and we're able to secure the wells, and we are not financially pressured because we're picking investors who have a longer time horizon. So we're just going to wait. That's the thing. We don't have to start selling our gas the minute we drill the well. So once the well is set up, we put a cap on it and we wait. And we wait for prices to come up. And then we're going to start selling our gas when nobody else is invested and nobody else is ready. So, but still the point is, nobody's drilling a well to sell gas at 250. It doesn't make economic sense. That's why it's very hard to get investors right now. It's a shame, because I would love to do all these projects right now just to make a fortune. But at the moment, no. But again, it's the math. It's, you try to explain to the investors, this is the math of the thing. You have to understand there's only going to be a short window in which that prices can stay this low, after which you don't have enough, there's not an adequate investment in the drilling of new wells, and therefore they will then, you'll suddenly go from too much natural gas to nowhere near enough. And why do we have too much? Because one of our export terminals was shut down that exported 10% of all the gas that's manufactured was exported through this terminal. So we have this massive buildup of excessive natural gas. It's as if 10% consumption was suddenly off the board. It was stuck in America. That's what knocked the price down so drastically. But that terminal is opening back up, and things are going to normalize. And meanwhile, the repercussions are there's massive underinvestment in drilling right now. So, you know, that's the premise, just like anything else. So what are we doing in the short-term portfolio? We bought UNG. But in real life, I'm getting investors for this well project because that's going to make a fortune. There's two ways to play it, right? You know, these are fundamentals. This is how you do fundamental analysis, but there's a lot of moving pieces to get to this position. So back to Devon Energy. So Devon Energy, and a lot of the bigger guys, and Devon's not that big, frankly, but Devon Energy and a lot of the big players in the space, they have constant investments, and they're always going to be doing some drilling, but they still scale back. You know, their CapEx cost went up in the last quarter, and their revenues went from here to here. Very bad. All right, so Devon stock Chart. There you go. Okay, sorry. DVN. So look what happened to Devon stock. The same problem, right? Natural gas went down, Devon stock went down. Much less profitable on the natural gas side. They are oil and natural gas. They haven't been hurt so much on the oil side, but the natural gas is killing them. So the stock came down. We decided this is a time to strike because long term, it should come back. The same premise that we have is it should come back. Devon will be in a nice position to capitalize on this going forward. It's being undervalued now by quite a lot. And then we did the math. And I said, so now you have that context. So I said, look, they're blaming the weather, but CapEx is up 10%. The company still sells about 50% natural gas. So 2022 is 19 billion, 5.6 billion in profit. NG was 7, CapEx is up $400 million, and NG is 250, which is 450 less than 7, 2/3. So let's say 2/3 of 1/2 of the earnings is 2.6, or what? 2/3 is not 2.6, dummy. 2/3 of 1/2 of the earnings is, oh, I'm sorry, it's 2.6 of 1.5. Oh, yeah, it is actually. It's 1/3 of $5.6 billion. So 2/3 of 1/2 is 2.6. That's correct. Boy, I was smarter then. I was smarter this morning than I am now. But I bet the NG was not as profitable as the oil. So let's say this. I'm making some assumptions and I'm just showing my math, so I'm not just saying this is a number. I'm saying this is where I'm getting to these numbers. So I said, let's call earnings 2.6 billion, and the debt is not bad at 5.4 billion, but that's going to cost them 300 billion. So now we're down to 2.3 billion is our forward earnings estimate. And I said, let's call it 3 billion because I think, so now I'm adjusting it back up $700 million because I think natural gas is stupidly low and it won't last. So if I'm thinking about the year 2023, I don't think that prices can possibly stay at 250 for 6 months. So I'm going to give them back a portion of the money I took away. So we're going to call their earnings $3 billion in a conservative case. Now, Devon themselves have not really dropped their estimates too much. So they believe they're going to make $5.4 billion this year. Now, obviously, their belief is based on natural gas coming back. I don't know whether it comes back or not. It doesn't matter, though. The point is, I gave a worst case scenario where I'm saying they're only going to make $3 billion, and $3 billion against a $42 billion market cap is still fine. That's not so bad. This company doesn't have a huge amount of debt. Their debt is $5.4 billion, which is not terrible, considering they have $20 billion, $19 billion in sales. And they make, in a good year, they make $3 billion. In a bad year, they lose $3 billion. But this is not likely to be happening again. That was the strangeness of 2020 when nobody was driving, right? So we had that's COVID. That's not, you wouldn't count on that and say that's a normal scenario for that. So somewhere between 5 and 3 billion is probably the true number that we can count on them making for a few years. And we only care about 1 or 2 years. We just want to see how they do in the next 2 years. So we think this is a buying opportunity. This is a very steep drop off. It was $70 in November, a couple of months ago. All right, so now we're going to put our bet in. And I'm saying blah, 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 5 billion. I said, and you got to look at, they lost $2 billion in 2020. They lost $1 billion in 2016. That's why cyclical companies get low PEs, because they don't always even make money. And people don't understand that about cyclical companies. Sometimes they make money, sometimes they lose money. Especially if you're like a steel company or companies, companies, a shipping company, you've got these massive, expensive ships. And sometimes there's a huge demand and sometimes there's not a huge demand. And if there's not a huge demand, you might lose money because you still got the ships, you still got to make your payments. So cyclical companies make profits in cycles. They make very good money some years they actually lose money. You have to smooth that out over time. People don't do that anymore, though. They just basically run in and run out. They stampede in and out of these trades based on the last quarter. It's ridiculous. I said they do pay a nice 5.40 dividend. They have now knocked down the 5.40 dividend. It's now 85 cents a quarter. So it's a pretty significant knockdown. No one did. Oh, come on. It's 85, 170, 340. So it's down from 540 to 340, right? 85 and 85 is 170, and then 170, 170, 340. So because part of their dividend is variable based on what they make. They make less money, they pay less money. And I said, you can sell the 2025 $50 calls for $14. So if you buy the stock for 57, is it still 57? La, 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 la. 56. So you buy it, so it's even better now. So if you buy the stock for 57 is what we were working on this morning, and you sell the call for 14, and you sell the $50 puts for 9, that's net $34. And you're called away at 50 for a $16 profit. 16 is 47% of 34 in 2 years, plus 17 in dividends. Now the dividends aren't going to be, oh, it's not going to be, sorry, it wasn't going to be 17 anyway. It's going to be 1080 in dividends, and now it's going to be, if they're cutting down to 340, it's going to be 640 in dividends. Big difference, $10 less. So now it's going to be 7. That's a big difference. So now it's going to be, you're still getting the 14, so now it's 21. So it's basically, it's 57 minus 21 is $36. That's not that bad. So it's net 36. So your net is going to be $36. You're going to be called away at 50 for $14 profit. 14 divided by 36 is 38%. Oh, it's not plus the dividends. That's why, though. You're only going to get called away for, because I counted the dividends too. No, wait, I missed something. Sorry. So I'm sorry. So it's going to be 57 minus 14 for the calls, minus 9 for the puts, minus, now we're going to do this. It's still 34. That didn't change. The dividends changed, though. Now we're only expecting 3, 4. No, wait. Minus 340 times 2 years. 85, 85, 170. Right. So minus 6.8. 27.20. That's the final price. So your net after the dividends is 27.20, and minus 50 is 22.80. So you're going to make 22.80 divided by 27. Was it 27.20? Nope. Wait, 27.2. 83%. So you're going to make 83%, not 97%. That's not terrible. Anyway, so it's a nice play. That's this play here, doing it this way. And otherwise, though, now again, the nice thing, we ignore the dividends and say we don't need dividends, because look what we can do here. We can sell 20 Devon. Now realize, if you buy 1,000 shares and you sell the 10 puts, you have the same exact possibility of being assigned 2,000 shares. That doesn't change. So here we're just selling 20 puts, same 2,000 share obligation. We're buying 40 of the calls in a bull call spread, and we're selling 40 of the short calls in a bull call spread. That's only net $2,000. We don't give a crap about the dividends, and we just want the stock to finish at $60. Keep in mind it's at 56 something now. So we just need the stock to hit 60, and we're going to get back $60,000. So this is a great play, and it's still going to be a top trade, especially because it's going lower right now. So I'm going to just recalculate it and make it a top trade. But we put that in the long-term portfolio and the dividend portfolio to keep an eye Tom says they updated the oil report. Robin says oil is shooting up. Why? Why would it shoot up? It makes no sense. It is, though, isn't it? It's really crazy. JC says, with regard to the thread posted to Google, my assumption is that with Google's incredible AI talent pool and with their infinite resources, they will meet the threat posed by ChatGPT pretty easily. I don't doubt that Google is going to have an AI just as good as Microsoft or whoever the hell else is out there. But the problem for Google is, what if the AI is going to just answer your question without showing you 20 pages of ads? What's their model? That's what the question is. Their model is based on the fact that you're wading through page after page after page of nonsense to get the answer to your question. And we happily do it because it's like a scavenger hunt. It's what we all do for fun. It's fun to look things up in Google and find the answer and go to and figure out the right link because you feel like you accomplished something. You feel like you explored or you hunted and gathered or whatever that sort of inbred thing we have, right? That gives us a reward feeling. But what if it just tells you the answer and you don't have to look and you don't have to fumble around and you can be comfortable that it's right? What happens to all their ad revenue? That's what the problem is. So how much low do I think Google can go? The thing is, Bing has been zero threat to them. If Bing becomes a credible threat and even 10% of the audience starts using Bing, that's very bad for Google. And if 20% or 30% start using Bing, or the other 50 people who are going to come out now that it's so easy to have a search engine because all you have to do is put a frame around ChatGPT, then what's going to happen in Google's market share? That's permanent damage. But it's not just that. The big concern I have is when I say, no. Here he is. What are the 5 best pizza restaurants in Key West? Is this working? No, that needs improving. Oh yeah, there it goes. It's just freaking telling me. I don't know if that's right or not, but I mean the difference there's a huge difference, right? And that's where this thing kicks the crap out of Google, and that's where all the money is for Google. Ooh, their pizza dough is made with imported Italian. See, and you don't get this out of that. See, look what happens. Pizza in Key West, Florida. Key West pizza restaurants. Open Table, best restaurants in Key West. Papa John's. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's advertising. It's not an answer. Restaurants near me, Uber Eats, advertising, not an answer. Domino's, advertising, not an answer. It's even got a little line, so I guess these are all advertisements, right? Ads related to, that's right. So the top is all advertising. All these people paid to tell me an answer that's not true. Now we get into TripAdvisor. Now again, TripAdvisor always comes up these days. When you say what's the best, it always comes up. TripAdvisor is always the first thing coming up because they paid a fortune to get, you know, whether it's SEO or they paid Google, I don't know which way it is, but they have paid a fortune so that their searches come up first. So then you end up on TripAdvisor. Then whatever, Brooklyn Cafe Pizza, I don't know how they get, that's smart of them. They get to be the ultimate judge of pizza here. Restaurant Guru, Foursquare, blah, blah, blah. Now, and look at this. This is annoying. And then you're into next already. So Google's getting paid for this. If I didn't have my ad blocker on, well, let's see if we can do this without the ad blocker. Hang on. Incognito doesn't have an ad blocker. Ugh, Papa John's. Freaking insulting. Oh, it still doesn't have the ads. That's weird. Oh. What happened to all the advertising? Anyway, so here's advertising anyway, so it still comes up. But anyway, so the top results are ads. Everybody pays Google for analytics and to be placed and so on and so forth. This is where their money comes from. Okay, and none of these answers are as good as my buddy who tells me all this neat stuff. Not only is he telling me the 5 best, but he's giving me a nice quick summary of why they're considered the best. Okay, so I could see, I read this and I say, okay, authentic Neapolitan pizza, wood-fired oven, extensive wine list, craft beers. Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, pizza and gelato, thin crust pizzas. See, this is like the key information I actually care about, right? Only wood is gourmet pizza, high quality ingredients, blah, blah. Croissant, this one intrigues me. I like that one. And these guys, okay. Oh, can you tell me where they are located? It even remembers, or should remember, what I was talking about, like what the conversation was. Google's like, huh? Wow, what is happening here? It's so slow. You know what? Oh, I think okay. They now they're selling for $20 a month access, and it's supposed to be faster, so they made it slow now on the regular stuff. It's really annoying. I'm gonna have to pay. Look at that. And it's so friendly too. I hope that helps. Enjoy your pizza. I mean, this is why. What else does Google do? What is Google's revenue from? They sell advertising. This is dangerous for them. It's not only dangerous for them, it also gives an answer as good or better than Google. It's a very huge threat to their product. Wow. Thinkorswim no longer gives you, they used to give you company profiles, which gave you some nice breakdowns. And if they don't do it for Google, I can't imagine who they do it for. Here, let's see. Oh, see, McDonald's gets a company profile. See, that's nice to know. International operations, U.S. operations. It gives you an idea of the break. It's just a nice quick reference. So for Google, I should have been able to see like where they're getting their money from. But of course, no. But I'm telling you, it's pretty much all search revenue. All right, and I guarantee you that the people who invested in Netscape did not believe that they could be unraveled by Google when Google came out, right? When Google came out, Netscape was the ultimate search engine, but before Netscape, there was Alta Vista, and nobody imagined that that would get dislocated. And then Netscape came along, kicked their asses, and then Google came along, kicked their asses. And and people don't even know who Netscape is anymore, which is insane to me. I was talking to my kids, they're like, "What the hell is Netscape?" I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, don't you guys learn the history of the internet or anything? The Netscape Navigator, remember with the picture of the wheel and whatever? That was like the way you searched the web for a couple of years. I mean, totally dominated. And they got completely wiped out. I don't think Google's going to get wiped out. And I know they're a great company and they got the technicians and engineers and whatever. They're going to have their own AI. But the problem is they're going to have their own AI. All right. Like Charlie Chaplin was a funny guy. He was great at what he did. But you know what? When sound came along, he wasn't a great acting actor. He was a great physical actor. He wasn't a great spoken word actor. And the people of the theater, the musical comedy theater, The Marx Brothers, for example, same beginnings as Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin lived until like 1980. He was around for a long, long time, but he stopped making movies in the 30s. It wasn't his 50 years. Okay, so he lived to be, he was maybe 80 years old or something like that. So he quit making movies in his 40s, basically. 30, 40 years old, he quit making movies. He made a fortune. He was the greatest actor of his time, blah, 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 right? But all of a sudden, something changed. What changed? Sound. And all of a sudden, these people from the radio who were masters of their craft had a whole new thing. The sound took on more meaning than the physical comedy. There was Buster Keaton, there was Charlie Chaplin, there were the Keystone Cops. Then all of a sudden there's the Marx Brothers, there's Burns and Allen, right? There are people like Burns and Allen, you know, I forget timing, but like, you know, Lucille Ball comes along. I'm sure you guys can name more stuff than I can. I wasn't a big thing, you know, the Honeymooners, stuff like that, you know, Jackie Gleason. There were great other comedians who weren't there for silent films, but as soon as something changed, all of a sudden he lost his relevance. That's what this is, okay? Google has so dominated for so long. And again, Charlie Chaplin still had the studio. He still had all the writers. He still had his actors that he worked with. He could still make any picture he wanted to. Wasn't enough. No longer enough. That's what happens, okay? Something changes and your formula doesn't work, and not many companies, not many people, not many industries can pivot like that. It's very hard to pivot. In fact, Ford today just talked about how hard it's going to be for them to pivot and change their manufacturing and do all this stuff to be electric. They're basically warning it's going to be a very tough couple of years of transition as they move towards an electric car company. It's not like you just throw the switch. It's a big, big change. And for them to really tool up and start like making millions of electric cars, they're going to endure a significant amount of pain over the next few years. That's what Ford basically said today. And that, by the way, we talked about this in chat. The most significant thing that happened this week, or frankly, probably this year so far, is the European Union finalized their ruling that there will be no more gasoline cars sold after 2035. All cars must be renewable energy. Not one car, not one gasoline car can be sold in Europe after 2035. That is only just over 10 years away. That's a huge change in the world. And so what's going to happen is, of course, other places like Australia and Asia will immediately go and start adopting the same thing. I mean, for one thing, those manufacturers don't want the European manufacturers to corner a market and get ahead of them and get better at making electric cars and so on and so forth. The European manufacturers now have a guaranteed market for electric vehicles, guaranteed. Europe is telling you you will not be competed against by gasoline car makers. Therefore, you need to make whatever 50 million electric cars a year, whatever their base is. Well, they have 500 million people, so that's about right. So figure they have to make 50 million electric cars a year. So now there's a wide open market and all the manufacturers have to gear up for it. And they've got only 10 years is not a long window to start putting out these cars. It's this game-changing stuff. And as soon as China or India or Japan go along, you know, one of the bigger populated countries, as soon as they go along with it, all of a sudden it's going to roll out and the whole world's going to shift, because otherwise, what's it going to be? Ford and Chrysler are going to keep making, or Chrysler's in Europe, so forget them. So Ford and GM are going to just stand by themselves. We are going to continue to make gasoline cars for Republicans. You know, it's just not going to work. they've got to compete too in Europe. They've got to have their cars in Europe. They don't want to have two different assembly lines running two different types of cars. And especially when one type is going to get legislated out of existence at some point anyway. The real problem with America, the way we plan stuff, right? Because it depends, you never know who's going to come into office and change all the rules. So how do companies plan for the future? It hurts us competitively when we have one administration undoing whatever the other administration did. That hurts America competitively, not respecting the work that's being done by another party when they're in power. What's that Italian place I really like in Key West? I like to do this to see what it says. What's that Italian place I really like in Key West? That's in a house. Up. Oh, no, I don't know. No, take your best guess. The food is great. You can't guess. How dare you? Oh, it's trying to help. I freaking love it. I mean, you realize how ridiculous this is to ask a computer something like that. So funny. Manja, manja. No, I don't think so. Maybe it's La Trattoria. See, here's where you need Google though, right? Because now I got to put Control C, see if that's the right place. Ah, La Trattoria, Key West. No, absolutely not the right place. Ugh. Massive Club, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Oh, well. This is really, I mean, I absolutely love this freaking restaurant in Key West. I don't know what it's called. I know where it is. That's the thing. Because it's like, I know when I walk up the street on this end, it's going to be right there. So I know where it is. But I have no idea what the name of it is. But it's a lovely place, gourmet food. Everything's totally fresh. I was just thinking about it, looking at that list. So funny the way things work. Anyhow, so this is the thing about Google, though. It's a big problem. It's the whole concept of search is now shifting, and you're going to expect to get an answer. I don't want answers. I want an answer. So it's not about whether Google can do just as good a job. It's how will Google adapt a money-making business model to this. All right, because look, to be honest, I mean, Google and all these search engines have done nothing but insert themselves between you and the internet and shitted it up with a bunch of crap that you didn't ask for and don't need when you're trying to find something. The purpose of the web is to get you to the information. Ideally, the web was conceived as a military thing, but ideally the web is conceived as I should be able to say what's the best pizza in London and I should get an answer. All right, the answer may be the best pizza in London as determined by 90% of the people who responded to this survey, or the best pizza in London is this or that, but I should be able to get an answer of some sort. That is not what Google does at all. Google will show you page after page after page of nonsense, And not that you can definitively say who's the best pizza, but they will show you whatever they can get paid for. They're not in it to help you. They have to help you or you go somewhere else. But they're not in it to really help you. They're in it to sell you advertising. You know, just like freaking CBS television is not there to entertain you. They're there to sell advertising. They're there to make money. How do they make money? Well, they make money by entertaining you. They make money by getting you to sit in front of your TV and put up with their freaking commercials. Or if you don't want to watch the commercials, then you pay them $10 a month or whatever it costs for Paramount Plus. But one way or another, they're going to get your money. And they're going to do that. Now, content is how they get your money. That's how they get you interested to give you the money. You want to watch their content, therefore you will write them a check. And you'll either write them a check or you'll sit through their advertising, and then the advertisers will write them a check. But somebody's going to write them a goddamn check. That's their business model. Google's business model is to get checks too. You know, so it's not about Google is looking for the ultimate way to get you your information. That's far from what they're doing. There's way better ways to give you your information than the way they give it to you. But the way they give it to you is the most ads you are willing to put up with and still use their search engine. That's their model. And that's TV's model too. What is the most commercials you look at the Super Bowl, right? What is the most possible commercials we can get you to sit through while a game is going on? That's the business. The business is not about giving you a correct answer. A correct answer can be done with a blank page. Well, here you go. This is how you get a correct answer. You know, what is the speed of light? 186,000 miles a second. Oh, meters. Thank you. Meters. Who uses that? Okay, here's Google. First of all, are they serious? Okay, so Britannica, it's going to give you, you're going to get an answer. But look at all the crap I've got to wade through. Okay? This is better. Not only better, it's telling me some nice basic stuff, right? I'm learning something. And again, I'm telling you guys, and we talked about this last week, I don't want to get too into it. Just talk to the thing. Just have conversations with it. Get into discussions with this thing, and you can learn stuff. Ask it anything you don't know, and then say, it's like, then you say, why? And then you say, what about this? And it'll tell you, what about that? And you say, how about that? I don't quite understand that. Can you rephrase it? It'll rephrase it. It's freaking amazing. But where's the money? Anybody can license this stuff right now. Anybody can, and many people are developing something like it. AI. This is not about somebody brilliantly did this. It's about computing power has gotten to the point where this model can now be put onto a computer that can handle all the data and feed it back. The processing power is enough that this thing can go through everything that's ever been written in the world in 1 second and decide what you meant by that. Okay, so watch. Does Joey love Rachel? Is that how you spell Rachel? A-E-L. How do you spell Rachel? Rach. I'm going to go with Rachel. Let's see what it says. Oh, R-A-C-H-E-L. Okay. How messed up is that? If you're referring to TV show Friends, Joey's feelings towards Rachel were complex and evolved over the course of the show. Initially, Joey had a crush on Rachel and expressed interest in her, but he eventually came to see her as a close friend. While later there are a few moments Joey expressed romantic interest in Rachel, especially in the latest season of the show. It's unclear whether the feelings they ever developed were true love. Ultimately, the show left the nature of Joey's feelings towards Rachel open to interpretation. Come on! That's freaking incredible, right? I mean, the world has changed in a fundamental way that a computer can now sit there, think about what you asked it, and come up with an answer that is most likely correct. Google, does Joey love Rachel? People ask, was Joey in love with Rachel? This is actually useful in Google. Is Ross all right with Joey and Rachel? Is Joey scared of Rachel? What? Joey and Rachel, and all this stuff. It's not wrong, but realistically, if I'm looking for an answer, this was a good answer. And the more and more reliable this becomes, the less and less I'm going to want to sit there and browse around Google for 20 minutes getting into it. Not only that, though, but you have to consider your time and the rabbit hole you go down. Because I'll admit that if I actually cared, then this is interesting, and the Joey Rachel storyline, but this is just somebody's opinion. It doesn't really tell me whether it's valid opinion or not. Friends, 23 crazy revolution about Joey and Rachel's whatever the hell. All the Joey and Rachel relationship episodes ranked. You can go down a hell of a rabbit hole on that, but you know what? There's a value to not going down the rabbit hole. There's a value to getting an actual answer, right? And moving on with your life. There's a productivity value, and you may not realize it. You may not even feel that you want it, but my daughter sure as hell was talking about it. We were at a wedding this weekend, and she was telling me that she feels that ChatGPT is making her much more productive because she is able to focus and not get distracted by Google. And that's what she considers it. She feels like she's being distracted by Google. And she thinks this is incredible. She can do this, get an answer. She goes, it might not be right. And you know me, I'm that kind of, I train my kids well. She goes and checks what it tells her on Google to make sure it's right, but it's faster than wading through Google trying to figure out what's actually correct. This thing takes all the books that were ever written, all the studies, all the pages that Google is showing you, it reads them all and comes up with the best summary answer for you. May not be correct. It may have weighed too heavily on some crazy person who spends their whole life writing about Ross and Rachel and is considered an expert, but is really crazy. You don't know. But the point is, question, answer, no advertising. No promotion, no advertising. And in theory, the whole SEO part of the industry goes out the window. There's no search engine optimization here. There will eventually, I'm sure, be attempts at AI optimization to get the AI's attention to make it feel like your answer should be included or whatever. But again, still, it's hard to imagine how you monetize this. There's always going to be a way to game it, but that's like gaming me. That's like saying, how do I get Phil to think that Ford it should be the stock of the year for this year? Well, you would have to, I would say, probably bring it up in chat, make a few arguments, get me to look at some articles, have the articles put up that when I look at them, it confirms what you're saying, that Ford does this and Ford does that, but I'm still going to go somewhere else and look for other information about Ford, just like today with the dividend on Devon Energy. I'm never done. Like, I finished talking about Devon, and then I found out the dividend was cut. So I'm not done. Then I made a note back to people, oh, be careful, because the Devon Energy is not fixed. It's a fluctuating dividend based on their earnings. But the point is, now you have to say, how do I influence? So I'm not AI, but people, you know who I am. You know how to influence me if you can. There's a lot of work involved, and that would be fill engine optimization, right? So you have to have AI optimization, but the AI is probably if not now, will be in the future, as smart as I am, and it's going to have its own ways to check and verify data, just like Wikipedia, frankly. If you try to change a Wikipedia entry, in other words, if you say, you are able to edit Wikipedia. I mean, you won't get any weighting until you get some reputation, but if you build up a reputation as a person who puts a lot of good facts into Wikipedia, then you get a sort of an editor status. You could go to the entry on Napoleon and you could say Napoleon was 6 feet tall. Okay, Napoleon was not 6 feet tall. There is way, way too much evidence that he was not 6 feet tall. Your edit would be rejected. You would have to then have references and cross-references and so on and so forth. But eventually, if you try really hard, you may be able to build up a case that Napoleon was 6 feet tall. But ultimately, it would be called into question by other people who would say it isn't, and it probably won't carry the day in Wikipedia. That's how Wikipedia works, okay? Other people are going to read that and say, no, that's bullshit. And they will challenge your edit, and it won't take hold as an edit. And that's how Wikipedia works. It's a consensus of a lot of people who have to then back up their suppositions with facts. And everything is open to being challenged, but everything is also open to being reinforced in Wikipedia. And that's how you end up with these entries, which is why actually it's a really great source of information, because it's a good consensus of what everybody basically believes about something. But again, what's the problem with Wikipedia? There's no advertising. God damn it. Well, all these things that give you actual answers don't have advertising. And why is that? Because you don't have the corruption. As soon as you take money, you are corrupting the system. As soon as you start accepting people paying you to position themselves as more right or better than others, you are corrupting the answers. It's like for-profit colleges. It's like when the professor makes you read their book. That's corrupt. Do you really believe that every professor in college wrote the best possible book on the subject that's being taught in 100 other colleges around the country? There's 100 teachers, 1,000 teachers teaching the same exact course as the one you're taking. And they've all got books. They're all making their students buy their book and ignoring every other book that's written. That's a bullshit, corrupt system. Everything, you got to look at the whole picture and think about what goes on. Now, JC says, I believe Bing will show both ChatGPT answer and the conventional search responses with ads in different columns when it fully launches. That's Microsoft's solution. Because again, that's the problem. How do you monetize this? But you know what? Even if they do that, and even if people accept that and don't go to the plain vanilla, because I'd rather have I like what I have now. I don't want to change that. I don't want Bing crap shitting up my ChatGPT thing. I'm having a conversation with my robot buddy here. We get along fantastic. I think I told you we have debates and stuff. It's like really crazy. Like I sit there and get into arguments with it. And I'm always fascinated. I'm fascinated with how does it think? How does it come to these conclusions? What happened to our EIA? Is that on here? I know it was somewhere. Nope. All right. Oh, it's right there. Why was it late? That's what I want to know. Oh, and can you imagine this thing when it comes up to date? This has only got data till 2021. Not that it's going to change the speed of light, probably, but it's only got the data to 2021. It'll be so cool when this thing's completely up to date. Where was the character AI? Oh, here's character AI. Let's see if I'm still in it. Tony Stark, Socrates. Where's my buddy? Sign up or log in. I ain't this. Excuse me. Oh man. Google? I don't know how I signed into this thing. Yeah, that's me. There he is. See, that's how I know it's me. Oh, here you go. I asked Winston Churchill, where should I get sushi? I want to see what he would say. Let's see. Oh, here you go. What's your take on the war in the Ukraine? Ukraine, like Poland, had their authority violated by an authoritarian neighbor. It is the duty of the British to ensure Ukraine prevails. Ukraine is made whole. A Ukraine where Ukraine is left and lost to Russia is a Ukraine whose people live their lives under the threat of Russia. The Ukrainians must defeat Russia and win the right to exist as a free and independent country. It's close to form. It doesn't have the flourish he has. I love this though. How do we accomplish that? Weapons and ammunition, tanks, planes, missiles, lots of ammunition. We need to send equipment to Ukraine. I would say even if Ukraine was to win its land back without it, I would still send Ukraine our military surplus because the Russians may attack again, or Ukraine may have to deal with a future Russian invasion. It'd be a good investment, as Ukraine could be key to keeping the Russians in Russia if another conflict to occur. That's a freaking great answer. This guy should be in Congress, not the people who are there now. He knows what he's talking about. Should the U.S. be involved in the conflict? Yes, just like we sent equipment to Britain during World War II, the U.S. should be involved to help the Ukrainians. The U.S. economy is booming due to their arms manufacturing, so it'd be a good investment as they can make more money back at home. So anyway, this is a completely different AI. That's why I was curious. That's why I was curious if you knew, where I can get a good pizza. It's more specialized. Now, it works best with people who have had extensive things written about them. That's called character AI, beta character AI. So it's stupid to talk to somebody who's like, Boy George or something like that. But people in history like Roosevelt or Nixon or Churchill or somebody like that, people who've been analyzed from other people and have biographies and autobiographies, especially very important, they've had an autobiography from their own point of view. But people like that are fascinating to talk to in this thing because it really has a great overall perspective on the people you're talking to. It's really cool. So, but again, my point is on that. It's that a lot of people have these things. The computing power is now there for these things to exist. And now that genie's out of the bottle. And now you have programs writing programs. So it's just going to keep evolving and moving and changing. But the bottom line is, as my daughter found out, what the answer is, what makes you more efficient? What just gives you the answer that you're asking for? That's what you want. You don't want all the nonsense. But from Google and Microsoft's point of view, how do I sell more ads? But you have to understand that Google and Microsoft, well, Google is more of the pure play here. So the problem is Google is selling $300 billion worth of ads, obviously some other stuff, but Google's selling $300 billion worth of ads. If I can get my hand on this technology and I can wrap it in a neat little bow and I can make $1 billion selling ads, I'm a happy camper. That's not good for Google. I'm willing to charge my advertisers 1/300th of the price that Google is charging people. I'm willing to make a lot less money than Google is because I'm happy making $1 billion a year. I don't need $300 billion. I don't need teams of engineers doing all sorts of things, running about with all this different stuff. I don't need maps. I don't need this. I don't need that. I only need to get some people to come to my site and pay me. And if I can do it, then 1,000 other people can do it. And then there'll be all these different engines and all these different ways to do it. Just like, as I said, maybe character AI becomes the definitive thing. Maybe everybody wants to have their own favorite historical buddy. Maybe that character AI goes into a doll, like that Steven Spielberg movie. What was that movie with Steven Spielberg where I think it's called AI, right? Yeah. It was this kid with a teddy bear. Where's the bear? Oh. There he is. So this kid had a little mechanical bear, and they went everywhere together, and the bear would talk to him, and it was like his Jiminy Cricket, right? It had a built-in conscience, and it would tell him that he shouldn't do things, and that things were allowed and were not allowed. So the point of giving the child the bear was A, for companionship. It taught him lessons in school. It was responsible for educating him, and it also enforced the rules of the house. It kept him on schedules, told him it was time to brush his teeth, woke him up, blah blah blah. So that may be the future, right? You have a pet robot that you go around with, and you, in whatever form it takes, and that's your assistant. And all the better if your assistant can run to the store and go get you something, right? But maybe the future of search engines isn't a search engine. It's a thing you walk around with and tells you stuff. And when you want to know something, it goes bip and gives you the answer. And when you say, and when you're in the car, it sits on your dashboard and points and goes, hey, here comes the street. And how are you going to sell ads on that? But you don't have to. This is a problem. This is what happens to companies like Google. They got so big and they have so many people and they rely on this revenue stream. And what happens if it goes away? They're going to collapse. Because I don't need, if I'm a bear manufacturer, I don't need $300 billion in advertising revenue. I want you to buy my bear. I have a completely different motivation. But I'm now capable of giving you everything Google gives you in a bear package. And so you're going to buy my bear and have access to my chat, which is going to become effectively generic. And that's where the disruption comes in. That's what you have to look ahead at. And it's far ahead, obviously. We're nowhere near having that, but it's the future. Spielberg saw this, oh, God knows when this movie was made. I mean, it has to be, I'd say, before 2000. I don't know what the year is. Let's see. See, we're still going to Google for these things, though. AI 2001. There you go. So 20 years ago, Spielberg said this is an idea of what the future is going to be like. And oh, and there was a lot. There was a whole like robot society. I remember in this thing, there was a whole thing about all these all these discarded robots like reassembled themselves as best they could, like put with mismatched parts, and they lived in like in enclaves away from humans, because they'd been thrown out. They were just unused robots, but they all were so powerful that they basically were self-aware, and they didn't want to be dead. So they just so when they were thrown out, if they were functional, they would just sort of put them, they just went and lived with other robots and formed little communities of robots that no longer had masters. It's crazy, but that's where we're going. And you got to say, how do I make money on that? And it ain't the same way Google's making money now. So Microsoft, not really, frankly, the most creative way to do it is slapping the character AI. The ChatGPT is being slapped on top of Bing. So you have the correct answer, and then you have the bullshit underneath it. And that's good for them. They'll draw more people to Bing, but it's not Bing that's drawing them to it. It's like having the Charlie Chaplin Theater featuring the Marx Brothers. It's like, yeah, okay, because Charlie Chaplin's famous and you like the idea of the Charlie Chaplin Theater, but you're not there to see Charlie Chaplin. You're there to see the Marx Brothers. And it better have speakers, otherwise you ain't going to stay. It's a transitional thing, but and again, the problem is Microsoft needs to sell ads. The genius is going to be the guy who figures out how to make money with ChatGPT. Now, to some extent, that's what Alexa is, right? In theory, and the person who should be doing this is Bezos and saying, you know what? This is what Alexa should be. Let's put that technology into the thing that's supposed to be answering your questions on your table and everything already. That's what people kind of use Alexa for, but it's pretty much terrible at it. It's not that good. This could make Alexa way better. But what's Alexa for? Alexa's supposed to, and by the way, the whole Alexa project is a money loser still, because ideally what they intended was that having Alexa, the convenience of it, because you say, what's the weather, what time's the movie, blah, 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 all that works, but it works the same way Google or any search engine works. But the point of it is that you were supposed to say to Alexa, I need Tide Pods, and it was going to automatically get you Tide Pods from Amazon. The problem with that is that when you say I need Tide Pods to Alexa, it doesn't give a crap how much money you spend on it, and people would get very annoyed at Alexa for ordering stuff that came in, and they were like, are you joking? But this is the general problem with Amazon, by the way, who are also killing themselves because what they do is no longer as special as it used to be. And especially if they dump UPS. Amazon dumping UPS is a huge mistake, because that's going to leave UPS as a rogue organization that's been trained by Amazon to do all these deliveries in 2 days or less and whatever. And now they're going to sell their services to anybody else who wants to get their stuff delivered in 2 days. And soon everybody's going to be able to offer Amazon service without the Amazon prices. Because Amazon prices have gotten absurd. You know, I mean, sometimes they're okay, but a lot of times if you pick an item and you don't pay attention, you can get zapped for money. I mean, just ridiculous ripoffs. Shouldn't be allowed at all. And that's the problem, is they devalue their product by doing that, because it's not. I don't rely on Amazon. I don't even like shopping on Amazon because of that. You know, sometimes I just bought a blender on Amazon, but I don't really go to Amazon a lot, because I just get so annoyed that something I order that I know is 30–40% cheaper if I bought it somewhere else. They are like, well, this is the best we can do, but free shipping. It's kind of ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, why is oil so expensive when we're swimming in it? This is still not the right report. What am I doing wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Oh, week ending February 10th. Now it updated. I had to refresh it. All right. So commercial crude increased by 16.3 million barrels. We are 8% above the 5-year average. Gasoline increased 2.3 million barrels, a little bit below, 5% below the average. Distillate fuel inventories decreased 1.3 million barrels and a 15%. So distillates we're low on, gasoline we're fine, and oil we're just swimming in oil. So obviously refine the oil and make more gasoline and distillate. There is no shortage of anything in this case. Now, why? What is going on? Refinery activity, 86% last year, 86% this year, 86% last year. Same 9 million, 9 million, 15 million, 15 million. No great differences here in what's being supplied. Oil, excluding the SPR. Look at this. We have in commercial inventory, last year we had 411 million barrels. This year we have 471 million barrels. That's 15% more oil than we had last year in inventory, in commercial inventory. Gasoline, 247, 241, same as last year. Distillate, 120, 119, same as last year. All other oils, 382, 425, 10% increase there too. SPR, obviously, Biden has drastically drained out the SPR. Nothing changed this week, week to week. But we've been all year long draining the SPR to make up for the fuel shortages. It's been successful. Now we have a glut. Look at that. 1610, 1629, 19 million more barrels total. That's insane. That's an entire day's use added in 1 week. And we're exporting 3.6 million net barrels of oil out of the country. Not oil, but petroleum products. 3.6 million barrels is being exported out of the country. This is like madness, people. This is really, really insane stuff. And that, by the way, is 1.4 million barrels more than last year per day. 1.4 million per day. So we are exporting 1.4 times 7, 10 million barrels. We're exporting 10 million barrels a week more. See the barrels per day. 10 million barrels a week more is being exported out of the country, and we have a 20 million barrel build anyway. If you don't think that's demand destruction, I don't know what to say. I really don't. We're only using 19 million barrels because we're sending all this oil out of the country. Otherwise, we wouldn't be using 19 million barrels in the first place. This is being refined, products supplied. These are being refined and exported. We have massive demand destruction. And it's not coming back because whether the European says by 2035 you're not going to use gasoline anymore, whether they say that or not, the consumers are being offered an alternative. And the alternative is not spending, how many gallons? Wait, you buy 500. You buy 500 gallons of gas a year. If you drive 50, and that's if you have a 30-mile-a-gallon car and drive 15,000 miles. That's 500 gallons, right? We figured that out the other day. So 500 times what? $4 a gallon, right? Or 3 something a gallon, whatever it is. Let's say $4 a gallon. Spending $2,000 a year on gasoline. That's $200 a month on gasoline. And that's if you only drive 15,000 miles in your car. So it's $200 a month on gasoline, and whatever you pay to repair your car and change the oil in your car and so on and so forth. It's cheaper to own an electric car. They have less parts. They require less maintenance. So it's less parts, less maintenance, no gasoline expense, no $200 a month for gasoline. You're buying a car for $600 a month, and $200 more is gasoline. People can't afford that. If people could afford that, everybody would be driving Porsches. People don't have $200 more a month. So people are voluntarily, that's what's going on now. They're voluntarily getting cars that get higher mileage, use less gasoline, or electric, so on and so forth. So when it's made mandatory, then everybody switches. End of story. And like I said, 5% every year, and it's been really 10% basically as the decline, which I predicted years ago, and it's been right on track with what I predicted. We're using less and less and less and less gasoline, especially, but using less and less oil. It's not just consumers, because it's the trucking companies are doing whatever they can to cut consumption. It's the airplanes are doing whatever they can to cut some consumption. The manufacturers are doing whatever they can to cut consumption, not just because they don't want to pollute, it's because they want to save money. This shit got expensive, and there are alternatives. Therefore, they will stop using it when they can. Now, that is not good for large oil companies. They are stuck with, again, it's the same thing. If Exxon wants to go look for more oil to replace what they have to look around a lot. It's expensive. Exploration and production is an expensive hobby. And if they find it and they're only going to get 10 years use out of it before everybody's driving an electric car, it's kind of going to be a waste of money. And not only that, though, but there are In Saudi Arabia, it cost $10 for them to pull a barrel of oil out of the ground. $10. They already own it. They've already done all the work. They've got the oil. It doesn't cost them very much to pull it out of the ground. They have huge, huge profits. In the Gulf Sea, the Gulf? In the Gulf of Mexico, I don't think it's a sea. It's a Gulf, I guess. In the Gulf of Mexico, it cost $50 to pull oil out of the sea in those deep water drills. They've been fairly inactive for quite a while, frankly, at these prices. So the Saudis pump more oil, we pump less oil. But the point is, the Saudis say, I've got 30 years worth of oil in the ground, and we can pull it out cheaply. So they're going to sell it they're going to start selling more and more of it to get rid of it, because they don't need it for 30 years. It's not going to be required, and they don't want to leave 20 years in the ground. So it's a race for everybody to sell the oil they've already tapped and get rid of it, because they're not going to use all of it up. And that's starting to happen all over the world. So that's going to eventually drive prices much lower. If it wasn't for this war, they'd be in big, big trouble. But wars consume tremendous amounts of fuel, and also we've cut off a lot of the Russian supply. But once that stuff comes back online, it's going to be very nasty for the price of oil. It's going to go down quickly. I don't get this at all, though. I mean, this is a massive build, and we're still paying. Look at oil. Oil was 93 last year, and now it's 80. Okay, but gasoline was 345, 348. Now it's 339. Barely moved. Mid-grade gasoline, 390, 390. Premium gasoline is more expensive than it was last year. Diesel is 10% more expensive than it was last year. That's outrageous. This is what Joe Biden's pissed off about. And you know what else you should be pissed off about? Oh, I forgot. I got to write an article about this. I got to write an article and make sure everybody gets it, like it goes to all the Congress people and stuff. What is this bullshit of blocking JetBlue, one of the best airlines, taking over Spirit, one of the worst airlines? Good riddance. Just let them have, take those planes, rip out those terrible seats, put in JetBlue seats, start serving snacks, stop charging for bags. Are you kidding me? Where is the downside to this? How dare they? Talk about things that are outrageous. I mean, the Spirit Airlines charges, because Maddie just flew on them. They charge $65 each way for the bag. So it seems like a cheap ticket, but then they charge you $130 for your carry-on, not for a loaded bag, for a carry-on bag, $65 each way. Really insane. That's not a hidden fee. That's outrageous. You say the flight's going to be $300, but $130 for the bag. And then the Wi-Fi and everything else. It was ridiculous. Anywho, so that's what Joe Biden's mad at. Now, he's also mad about the cost of his Taylor Swift tickets, which I agree also. Again, these outrageous charges where you pay, whatever you pay for the ticket, but it's, let's say a ticket's $100, if you end up paying $140 with the add-on fees. I mean, this is insane. When did they get the right to do this? And when did they get the right to... Why is it when I go to the frickin' store to get a sandwich now, I have a machine, they flip the screen at you and say, I want, 15% is their lowest tip for the counter person who hands you a sandwich. What the hell is going on in the world now? They used to have a tip jar and you put $1 in it. Now it's like 15% of your bill they expect. I'm tired. I'm an old man and I'm tired. That's where I'm at. So what else do we do today? All right, let's get back to that. And of course, we started going over portfolio reviews. We talked about Airbnb, and I picked Airbnb a while ago, back in sometime in December. I forget when. Oh, I'll probably say it here. December 2nd. So on December 2nd, Airbnb hit 100, and at 100, I was like, okay, I'll buy it for 100. It went down to 80 after that, but that doesn't affect my decision. And so at 100, I said, here's why I like him, blah, blah, blah. But what I really like about him, which is, I've been on about this all year, right? This is my favorite statistic. How much money are you making? This is revenue, not profit, but how much do you make per employee? It's a very, very telling statistic when you're doing twice as good as your competition. So I said in the LTP, we sold the 2025 $90 put. So we were at 100 on December 2nd. We sold the 2025 $90 puts for 19 bucks. So that puts us in at net 70. And I felt 70 was a good safe spot. We got tested as it dropped down to 80, but then that was it and it came back up. So, that's what we do is when we have an opportunity like that, we make a call and we say, here's where I think it's going to bottom, and they should be safe. So we collected $9,000 for blah 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 for this for the puts, and we were talking about whether it was worth going in or not. And I did the math here. This is good stuff too, by the way. You should really check this out, because I did the math and I said, look, if you look at this and you figure out this and you look at the spreads that you can get, it turns out that the upside potential of the spread ends up being, I already collected $9,000, right, for the short puts. If I add the spread, I'm spending $15,000, and my upside potential increases by, I don't know, wait. It goes from, we add about $10,000 more to the upside potential. Or 30, or let's call it $12,000. We had $12,000 to the upside potential for $15,000. Now we all know we can do better than that. 100% in 2 years is not very exciting to us, right? So we're not going to do it. We'll pass. We have a better use for our money. For one thing, we're chasing, right? Because it already popped. It popped from 100 to 130. That's up 30%. It went down first, but we only care about the fact we came in at 100. It went to 130. And we missed it. It went. So why would I want to go chasing into it? It doesn't make any sense. We already have a prelay. We're going to make $9,000, and we're happy. If it ever comes down again, we want it. If it doesn't come down again, we don't. It already came down from here to there. So it's not like it can't happen again. One bad quarter, and they'll be right back down to 80. So we're happy with our short puts. If we pocket the $9,000, we'll look at them again and see how much they've improved. But you don't have to play it just because it popped up. We wanted to keep our eye on it in December. That was the point of the trade, but it took off on us. We missed it. End of story. We're still going to make our $9,000. Good enough. And I said, how about we do Expedia instead? Because Expedia is similar. Expedia does not have the same revenue per employee, but you know what they do have? Profit. Because Airbnb, this is the first time they ever made a profit. Expedia always makes a profit. It's a good little company. So we did an Expedia play instead. $7,000 net on a $30,000 spread. That has 328% upside potential. Not 100%, 328%. Similar industry, same case, same conservative spread. You've always got to think of the best use of your money and what's going to be the best way to deploy your cash, and how safe is it going to be. Oh, this is kind of cool. I like this. So what this is the annual return of the market over a period. So over 1 year, the average return is 8.4%. Over 5 years, the average return is 7.2%. Over 10 years, the average returns are 6.9%. But look at this. This is scary, though. Right? Look what kind of block you can go negative on. That's a big block. And over a 20-year period, any 20-year period, you average 6.5%. But again, you can still be in the wrong 20-year period. Yeah, I can't pause this. You can see how you can go like years with pretty poor returns. Like this is from, well, this is the Depression, right? 1927 until 1947, 20 years of terrible returns. Probably here also 67 to 87 is another 20 years of not good returns. So you're not necessarily going to nail at least shallows here, right? Look at that shallow. From 67 to 87, yeah, right here, 67 to 87. When you have those negative years, they can really impact your portfolio. And this is why, by the way, having been through the 67 to 87 period when I first started out investing, you know, my grandpa was an investor, so I used to watch what happened every year. And so even when I was a kid, I used to watch the markets, and I saw this stuff happening. And I realized as I got older that options were the way to go. It's that whole be the house, not the gambler thing, right? It's like, don't play this game. You're going, you know, statistically over time, sure, you're going to make money, but it's not reliable. What's reliable is selling premium to other people who think they can time the market. Because the reality is nobody can time the market that well. But what I can do is I can buy IBM for $100 and sell, not 100, but 150. Well, I'll show you right now. I mean, look. It's IBM. So 135. So I can buy IBM for $135, and I can sell you the $140 call for $14. That's 10%. I'm taking 10% off the price of IBM. I'm going to net into IBM for 120, and you're going to buy it from me for 140. So I'm going to make $20 and 20 into my net 120. That doesn't make any sense. 16%, right? 20 divided by 120, 16%. So I'm going to make 16%. And if IBM goes down, I just do it again, and I do it again. And if I do it 6 times, that's 1. I get all my money back, whether IBM goes up, down, or sideways. I am guaranteed to make 100% in 12 years, in 6 cycles. I'm going to make 100% in 6 cycles in 12 years. And that means if I start off with $100,000, I'm going to have $200,000 in 12 years, $400,000 in 24 years, $800,000 in 36 years, $1.6 million in 48 years. So in 50 years, I'm going to turn $100,000 into $1.6 million just doing that. Almost can't lose. Almost can't lose, because what's the thing? If IBM goes bankrupt before I sell my 100%, I'm going to lose, right? But as long as I can keep selling 10% of the value of IBM every 2 years, and it's not even the best selection, I'm going to recoup my investment every 12 years. That's all I have to do. Guaranteed. If I pick a blue chip stock that isn't going to go bankrupt, you obviously pay some attention, change stocks once in a while if you have to, doesn't matter. So then I refine my system, right? So I realized that was true when I'm very young. Then I say, okay, well, can we do better than that? Yeah, you can do better than that. Pick an undervalued stock to start with so you don't have a problem with something dipping too far on you and you're not recouping what you thought you'd recoup. Do that. So now we start looking at value stocks and doing the same thing with value stocks. Then I say, well, wait a minute. What if I didn't buy 100% of IBM? What if instead I bought $50,000 worth of IBM. I sell the same 140 call for $13.50. Okay, so I'm taking 10% off, but I also sell the 125 puts for 10 or whatever it is, 10, yeah, 10. So now I've got 135 minus 23.50 is 111.5. Wait a minute, that's a big difference. So 23.5 divided by 135 is 17%. Well, now every 8 years I'm going to recoup my investment. So let's go out the same. So now I start out with $50,000 because I'm risking being assigned another $50,000 worth of stock, right? So we start with $50,000, but now every 8 years. So times 2 is I'm only up to 100,000, but now it's year 8. So year 16, year 24, 32, 40. Now I'm at 1.6 million, but not at 52 years. In 40 years, I'm at 1.6 million. I started with 50,000 instead of 100,000, and I risked being assigned 50,000 more. And now I've cut 12 years off my schedule to get to $1.6 million. No harm, no additional anything. That's all I've had to do. So now if we give it 2 more cycles, which I have now, because that's what I picked up, or a cycle and a half, now we go times 2 times, well, let's say 1.5, right? So now I'm going to have $5 million in 52 years. I had 1.6 million. That little adjustment is now going to take me to $5 million instead of 1.6. Same $100,000 of starting capital. So when people say, why do you like to do this? Why do you sell puts? Why don't you just sell covered calls? That's the answer right there. And again, market timing, diversify, protect yourself, buy stocks every year. Don't just do it with IBM constantly. You evaluate every single year or every 2 years or whatever, every cycle all the time, every quarter we evaluate, right? Every month we evaluate our positions. But don't beat a dead horse. We pick the best value stocks that we see, and then we put them in our portfolios. Look how many times we purged our portfolios recently. In the last 2 years, we had 3 major purges of our portfolios. We took the winners. Why? Because the market was doing too well. It was doing so well that the bargain stocks that we had were no longer bargains. So we cashed them out, and we looked for new bargains, and we built a watch list of 100 stocks that we wanted to own. 100 stocks we can invest in and do this with. That's all there is to it. So then that's my strategy that I developed, and it's not a complicated strategy. I'm not pretending to be a genius. By the way, we're not even talking about dividends or anything else that accelerates all this. So, and we're not talking about the other tricks that we do, which is selling short-term calls when we have a good buffer, whatever. There's a lot of ways to enhance this much faster. But you can see why we make so much freaking money in the portfolios. It's not that hard. And then forget that, because then I said to myself, well, wait a minute, though. If I own the $100 calls and I only spend 39 bucks instead of 135, and I sell the same 140s for 13.50, now it's 39 minus 13.5. I'm only spending $25.50 to have the 100, 140 spread. Now I've got a $15 upside. It's 40 freaking %. Don't forget my upside when I net in for 135 minus what do we say, minus 25. When I net in for 110, I can only make 140. I can only make $30 if I'm called away at 140. This way, I'm netting it for $25 and I make 15 at 140. That blows away my potential gain. So now I'm using I'm tying up far less cash. I've got the exact same spread and have the exact same upside. I can put $50 in and have $30 of upside. And I've still got an extra $100 to play with on other positions. Now I've taken that $5 million potential and blown it out the window. Now I can well, if I use 50 here and I got 100 left, I can triple it. I can make $15 million with the same $100,000 in the same extremely conservative investing strategy. That's what this is all about. All right, basic principles. And again, like I said, that's why I love that chart. Because again, I didn't look at this. I watched when I was a kid. I worked with my grandfather and I watched the markets and look what they did. We had some good years, and I'm only 10 years old here, right? So we had some good years and we had some really bad years in the 70s. And then we had some good years and we had a bad year. Then we had a good year and a bad year. Now here I'm in college and I'm starting to make my own decisions about investing. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is too risky. There's better ways to do it. And here I am 40 years later telling you the better way to do it. All right, so that's a good place to end the webinar. We're going to be reviewing portfolios tomorrow and Friday. We've been reviewing portfolios. We did it in yesterday's post, and that's where it's going to stay. We're going to keep adding to yesterday's post. So I hope that was good. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. Wait, therefore, Phil, what is the cost of gasoline 5 and 10 years from now by IC Autos? Roger says. I think gasoline is much cheaper. Five years from now, gasoline should be cheaper, and 10 years from now, I think gasoline, they won't be able to give it away. It's not that you won't use any gasoline, but I think, frankly, having a nice gasoline car that you buy 7, 8 years from now, just before they get banned, right? When people are getting rid of them, there's going to be a glut of these cars. The people who still have gasoline cars are going to be laughing their asses off because they're going to pay $1 a gallon for gas at the few remaining gas stations that are there. There'll be empty gas stations, no people who want gasoline, and you'll be driving around in your car paying $1 a gallon because nobody's using gasoline, and it's just a tremendous glut of it. Whatever's left, they'll shut down the refineries. It'll balance out at some point, but there'll be some really good times for gasoline drivers. All right, I don't know, they may be taxes, who knows what they're going to do. I would tax the crap out of gasoline if I was the government, but there. Buy IC Autos, no. I mean, realistically, it's horse and buggy. Did you see the motor car and say, this is a great time to buy horse and buggies? It's like, oh yeah, let's buy all these blacksmith shops that are going out of business because people are still going to want those horses. No, it didn't work out then. It's not going to work out now. The future is the future. The future is electric cars. The future is something like electric car, hydrogen, electric, whatever. The future is not using gasoline to power your cars. That's over. And thank God. I mean, just in time. I don't even know if it's just in time. It's probably too late, but hopefully just in time. And on that happy note, all right. Well, take care, everybody. All right. Have a good week. We'll do it again next week. Take care.